Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 crime thriller Crime Story, a film that is written and directed by Adam Lipsis, and it stars Richard Dreyfuss and Mira Sorvino. Now this film focuses on Richard Dreyfuss's character Ben, who is a retired mob boss or mob enforcer. The film doesn't entirely make it clear, it kind of hints that he was both. He is trying to go legit, or he has been trying to go to legit for a number of years. His wife is very poorly. She's essentially got dementia. He's trying to look after her at home, and he also has terminal cancer. His daughter, Nick, played by Mira Sorvino, is a police officer. They are estranged, but she is trying to reconnect with her father in some way. He's just not an easy person to connect with. And one day, Ben, his house is robbed. They take pretty much everything of value there and also severely distress his wife, who is ill. He takes umbrage with this. Richard Dreyfuss's character decides to hunt them down. And while hunting them down, he uncovers a plot of betrayal and deceit that leads closer to home than he thought. Right, what are my thoughts on Crime Story? Well, first thing I want to say here is that I'm a big fan of Richard Dreyfuss. I have been for a long time. Followed his career from Jaws to Close Encounters to Stakeout in the 80s. And his last, couple of films, I think one of his films he did last year called Astronaut was in my favourite films of the year last year. It was such a really nice, heartwarming and an uplifting film. I really enjoyed that. And another film he did fairly recently was like a comedy with Chevy Chase that he did on Netflix, where he plays like a stand-up comedy. I really enjoyed that as well. So I think Richard Dreyfuss is a really fantastic actor, and he's got really good screen presence and great screen charisma. So I was looking forward to watching this because the plot sounded great. An aging, hard ass out for revenge. I'm up for that. I'm up for seeing Richard Dreyfuss with a gun in his hand again. What we get though here is a little bit of a lackluster family drama almost that was certainly watchable at times, but severely lacking in other departments, which I thought was a real shame because I thought the story had great potential. It's a simple revenge story that is bogged down with family and political dynamics that seems overly complicated and detracts from the rest of the movie. It states at the beginning of the film that this is based on actual events, so I don't know how true that is. But the actual events, if they are true, that they based it on, was really over convoluted and really weighed down the film. Because on one hand you've got this very simple revenge story of Richard Dreyfuss hunting down the people that have robbed him and distressed his wife, and he's got a reputation to uphold, so he's not going to stand for that. That is simple enough for me. And then you've got this whole family dynamic added in there with his daughter, this whole reconnection that's trying to take place that makes sense later in the movie, but weighs it down for much of the film. And then there's this political stuff going on. There's this congressman who is connected to Mia Sorvino's character, but also has a connection to Richard Dreyfuss's character in the past. Because Richard Dreyfuss was supposed to put a hit on a pregnant woman, do this hit on a pregnant woman, and he didn't. He let her go. And that comes into the story later on when it probably didn't need to. It didn't really add much to the story. So you've got all these plot points swimming around, and it just continuously weighs it down, and it detracts from any enjoyment you get really from seeing this elderly gentleman, small elderly gentleman. Let's be honest, he's not large in stature, Richard Dreyfuss. Hunting down and doing what needs to be done to these people that robbed him and upset his wife. And that, for me, was what I really wanted out of this film, to see that very simple story, seeing Richard Dreyfuss being badass, seeing how they were going to pull this off, because he's not a young man. How are they going to make this guy believable in regards to taking on these much younger people and doing what needs to be done. And to some degree it does work, because you do believe his character, and that's mainly down to Richard Dreyfuss and his performance, which is absolutely fine, by the way. He does a really good job here. The only issue I have with Richard Dreyfuss's performance, and it probably wasn't his choice, is this very weird voiceover that they put on the film, with Richard Dreyfuss's croaky voice talking over the film throughout the majority of it. And it's like exposition, basically. It's explaining things that we don't need explaining. And it reminded me very much of Blade Runner, that the infamous voiceover from Harrison Ford that he didn't want to do. It was very monotone. Very similar thing here with Richard Dreyfuss's voiceover. It was very monotone, didn't add anything to the film. In fact, it detracted heavily from the film, and it was a poor choice. So it's a bit of a curious one, this one. Are you a fan of Richard Dreyfuss? If you're a fan of him and his acting, you probably get something out of this film, because I am a fan of his, and that's what I got out of this film. Great to see him in this kind of role, and he did pull it off fine. But there's so much else in this film that really weighs it down and makes it far more uninteresting, and just seems there to drag the film out, really. So yeah, that is my review for Crime Story. Bit of a curious one. I'm not sure if I liked it or if I didn't, but there are certainly some interesting things in there that are certainly worth a watch. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I think it could have been so much better if they'd just simplified the story a little bit. So that's my review. Thank you very much for watching. I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel.